What a great place to start this show.
I know.
Welcome, Earthlings, to the latest episode of the Wreak, Havoc Film Buffs podcast. I am your host, Dan Sellers, along with my undead co-host,
Vlad Sammie.
Sammie the Impaler.
Sammie the Impaler. Whoa.
We... Ew.
Oh, that one's
Sufficiently awkward.
Ew. We are joined here once again with our frequent collaborators, friends, and guests of the show. I'll let you introduce yourselves.
Jacob Allen.
You go first. No, you go first.
Whitney, Collazo.
Cool. We're here today to talk about 1992's Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is my personal favorite iteration of Dracula on film. We'll get to that in just a minute. What's new, guys? Jacob wrote and directed the commercial for this year's Wreak, Havoc Horror Film Festival, which has at this point gotten a shit ton of views on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're close to 15,000 at this point.
Sweet.
It's just great to come back and be working with Dan and Sammie and of course Whitney, Tanya again with the makeup. And the concept for this one I think was slightly darker, and what was funny about it though was we had these great film buffs who were played by Chad and Doc, and their expression throughout the whole shoot just gave us such a comedic relief and made it all worthwhile. So much that during the editing, I really had prolonged a lot of their scenes too much. They had to be cut down.
Yeah, that had to come in here. I know this is difficult, but we got to lose this business.
Yeah. But, it was a pleasure. Everyone that we worked with is Sean Nerona, Paige Kirby.
Yeah.
Just everyone coming on board, and thanks again to the
Thompson.
Carolina Theater.
Yeah. Yeah,
collaborator Ryan Thompson.
Yeah, and guest of the show.
Ryan Thompson, hilarious.
Yeah. We had a good time making that, and I was happy with the way it turned out.
I loved your title text, Dan. Especially since we're getting ready to go into Bram Stoker's Dracula, the blood text, the Wreak, Havoc text there.
I still think we need to use the 90-second or the little clip outside the theater too.
You know, I was looking at that recently, and I almost thought about bringing my laptop tonight. It's a good shot. It's just awkward for anyone who's a cinema demon because you're like in full makeup and you really look cool, and then you're delivering this line and it's like, you better come. But the best part about it is Ryan running in the background. It's prompted. I mean, it's improv. It's just he's running.
That improv come from my darling wife, who seems to be the instigator on our. When you watch Midnight Shift, you'll see the ghostly apparition of Patricia's face in the window that's scared to piss out of Dan and Joan at different times.
Well, I kind of egged that on too.
Yeah, but that was my wife's initial idea, wasn't it? And it was her idea.
The first thing I thought when I saw it was, damn it, she ruined the shot. And then I was like, wait a minute, that's pretty fucking creepy. Let's keep that. And I never told her to move. So speaking of Midnight Shift, we have to acknowledge, at least at the point of recording this episode, we've been accepted into 3 film festivals.
Yay!
We'll be screening October.
Like the South Park kids.
Yay! Hooray! October 26th at the Halloween International Film Festival in Kill Devil Hills. And I believe November, correct me if I'm wrong, Sammie, Sick Chick
October
Flicks.
28th and 29th.
Nice.
Okay, that's right. I'm sorry. That was last year's in November. October 28th, 29th, in Cary, North Carolina, the Sick Chicks Flicks Film Festival. We're part of their official selection too. And we just heard, as of today, we haven't even announced it yet, we're returning for our 3rd year to the Tryon International Film Festival in Tryon, North Carolina. So we're really excited about that. I believe by the time this episode posts, all those should be in the future. So get your butts to one of these film festivals and see our new movie.
Yes, please.
We're very proud of it. And
yes, if you're locals, I attended Sick Chick Flicks last year. Very good, very, very good first year festival. Matt's in his second year at Halloween. I wish I could go to the Outer Banks and go check out that festival. I'm sure they do amazing things there because all the rest of the stuff they do are amazing. And he runs Halloween Daily News, Daily, one
Halloween
of the,
Daily News, I
okay,
think.
Daily News.
We're returning to all three of these film festivals. Who
That's
played our
a
films in the
good
past?
sign.
Isn't that cool?
That means it's
So
awesome.
it's like
They
we're making
us.
progress.
They really like us.
We're making progress. Yay!
I don't know when this episode will air, but the other thing that I'm really looking forward to next weekend is the world premiere of Midnight Shift
Oh,
at
yeah.
Wreak Havoc Horror Film Festival. I'm anxious that that's gonna be big next Friday night. It's coming
Yeah.
Friday night.
Thanks. I'm excited. The cut that the quote unquote final cut no one's seen yet. So
Even I haven't seen it.
shouldn't be totally different from what you've already seen, but a few things thrown in there. So I'm pretty excited about that too. Hopefully we'll have some of the stars show up too. So good to see Joan and Willie and people to kind of reconnect a little bit. Hopefully.
Sounds like we're going to have a pretty good crew from Hawley too.
Awesome.
Awesome.
That's what I was hearing.
Amber's
yeah.
coming.
Sweet.
Mike's coming. Mike Burke. I think Ryan Thompson's coming.
He better be there.
I talked to Tom yesterday. Cause I had to
Can
call.
Tom break away from football
Well,
camp
that's
long-
he's
or from
looking. He's looking at it. He's
football
trying.
season? Yeah.
That we discussed that last night. Because his movie Last Airbnb won Best Comedy at Asheville Film.
Very cool.
So congrats, Tom. His first laurel for that. Trying to think. I think Kelly and Jeanette's trying to come. It sounds like Colin's going to have a pretty good.
Very cool. The world premiere of The Haunting of 4 Points will be that's this Saturday at the film festival, which will actually be after or before this podcast drops. But you'll have some other opportunities to see The Haunting of 4 Points. All right, let's get into our film. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola, who I think pretty much makes this film. I mean, obviously, literally makes it, but as opposed to just any other random director. I mean, I think he brought something amazing to this version of Dracula. Dracula. How many freaking adaptations has Dracula had? Probably.
Oh,
he's right up there the most films.
I would think so. I don't know a real number, but it's got to be in the hundreds, probably.
Yeah.
You think
as
so?
far as
It's
adaptations.
three digits.
I have an encyclopedia of different stuff on Dracula and vampires, and there's so many films.
I freaking love this opening.
This
Oh yeah.
opening,
It's incredible. But it sets the historical context
Yes.
for Dracula, which hasn't really been done prior.
no, it hasn't. And this is actually describing. It's going to describe the night attack here in a second, which really occurred in 1462.
Yeah, it's
swept into Europe with a vast superior.
yeah. I've seen a lot of different versions of Dracula, and you don't see a historical context for Vlad the Impaler, which is they do here.
Sacred sword of the dragon, known as Dracula.
This film is a visual feast for the eyes. Like this is
It is.
an
It's
incredible,
gorgeous.
beautiful film. No digital stuff in this film either, which is incredible. Everything. This is
Very
a
practical.
very old school type special effects, which I appreciate wholeheartedly.
Prized above all things on earth.
Our DVD's skipping. No,
Oh no!
that's okay. So Vlad the Impaler has just, in the name of God, just impaled and killed hundreds of Turks, invading
Roman.
Transylvania.
And another thing that about the night attack that's very interesting, and the battle that they're kind of displaying
Shot
here,
an arrow into the castle,
is
carrying
that
false news. Dracula is dead.
he was the Vlad Dracula, other than being such a infamous character, was just as much a military tactical leader. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, the numbers were like 100 during the night attack. There were like over 100,000
Yeah.
Ottoman Turks in an encampment there, and Vlad Tepes may have had 35,000 men. and was able to successfully shake that Sultan up.
That's crazy.
And they're showing the death of his wife here. Actually, Vlad's wife did in fact kill herself.
Really?
And it was, her name was rumored to be Lydia, but it's not confirmed. But yeah, she did in fact kill herself because she did not want to be captured by Turks. She would much rather take her own life.
Yeah. That's incredible. Yeah, it as a kid, being a fan of this version and just other, Dracula, not even Dracula films, but Dracula appears in all kinds of different movies, Monster Squad was a fun movie growing up too.
Oh yeah.
Love
I
Monster
still got to
Squad.
watch all of that.
But learning the history of Vlad Tepes and the true story behind the inspiration of the book was pretty fascinating. Yeah, sorry folks, my DVD is skipping around here. This is a pretty worn out disc, I'm guessing. So we cut to 4 centuries later, in 1896, in London. See if I can get this to work. I'll edit this here. All right, let's skip. I think we can get the DVD drive. So we had this beautiful. I don't even know what to call this. This silhouetted backdrop that was mostly done by puppets and basically cutouts. Very old school.
Puppets.
There's a lot of puppet work in this movie.
There is.
Yeah.
A lot of practical effects and old school visual effects that really hadn't, even in 1992 when this film was made, wasn't being done. It hadn't been done for years. Old school techniques that they utilized, which I think really adds a lot to this film. This is another thing too that I don't know that, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I just don't know my Dracula movies so well, but I can't really recall many other Dracula films where you see the quote unquote origin of him becoming the vampire.
No.
I saw half of that new what was it?
Oh,
Dracula
Untold?
Untold, yeah.
Yeah.
And I couldn't watch anymore.
Yeah,
Watch
it was
about half of
I
it.
couldn't
I was like,
stand it
ugh.
either. Sorry to those.
I don't want to see Dracula be a hero. I want to see him be
No.
the villain. Well, in this film, it has a very sympathetic view
Yeah.
on him. You feel bad for Dracula a lot of times in this film, especially now.
That's very true, and this is a complex version because it's actually giving more of a historical interpretation as well as then the vampire folklore. And I think that the person is just as complex as what we're seeing here.
And it's much more. This version is much more of a love story than a lot of iterations.
Very, yes.
Is this my reward for defending God's church? I renounce God. I shall rise from my own death to avenge hers with all the powers of darkness. Well, hell, if that doesn't do it for you, then I don't know what does. After slaughtering hundreds of souls, to then renounce God and stab the cross. I love this imagery. The
It's
statues
gorgeous.
crying blood and leaking, shooting out blood. The blood is the life, and it shall be mine. I'm translating for our audience who can't read what's on the screen.
Maybe we don't have screens.
This amazing visuals accompanied by this amazing score. Again, this sends chills.
It's a very dramatic opening. too.
Very dramatic, yeah. Yikes. Okay. Let's skip ahead a little bit.
Is this come
a lot of versions of Dracula, they screw around with the characters and the names. Some versions, Renfield is your main character.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't even see Renfield.
Yeah.
Harker and Renfield get swapped around. They don't seem to give a shit in a lot of these versions. There's been so many I can't even name. Hell, it's just who else played Dracula? I mean, there's just Christopher Lee was a great one. Bela Lugosi, I mean, is probably the most classic version.
Frank Langella.
Frank Langella, he was good.
Carradine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David Carradine.
David Carradine. Was it David?
Or
Keith.
John.
It was John. I think it was John.
David.
One of the damn Carradine.
Maybe it's both.
Carrie
All
Carradine.
of them. Didn't Peter Cushing play him in one movie?
Peter Cushing
I think
did
he
play
did.
Dracula.
I think he did, but I think he's mostly known for playing Van
Yeah,
Helsing.
but there
isn't
was
he?
Yeah.
one movie they
Oh,
flip-flopped
Well, he
him or
flip-flopped.
something. Yeah.
Did Vincent Price ever play Dracula? I don't think he did.
I don't know, but it sounds like it should
Yeah,
it
he
should have
should've.
happened.
Yeah.
It should have happened. I don't think so though.
I love this visual of this peacock feather, and it turns into into the train tunnel. This is all visual, our special effects that's done in camera. This is a model, and even him. This was shot in camera, Sammy. The book is about 20
Yep.
feet
Oh, wow.
wide,
Wow.
and then there's a model train going over it, and then there's a light producing the shadow across the book. All this background of him is about 30 feet of model moving that's being projected on his face, and all the background's just literally something model work that they're moving from side to side.
They put some effort into this
Even
movie,
the
didn't they?
eyes is being projected in real life, and they're shooting it. It's not even,
Wow.
you know what I mean? So this is a totally different style of filmmaking than what you see nowadays.
Yeah.
But like I said, even at the time, 92, you didn't see movies like this. And this is this is kind of what I meant earlier when I said this is really the greatness of this film. It comes from Francis Ford Coppola, who insisted that this film be made this way, as opposed to anybody else who could have had it, would have done a lot digitally, or just would have done it totally differently. He notoriously fired his visual effects crew during pre-production because they weren't giving him what he wanted. There's even some behind-the-scenes featurettes on the DVD where you can watch where it shows him just like he has a temper, like he blows up at his visual effects. He's like, God damn it! I'm telling you what I want, and you're not giving it to me.
That's fun.
So he famously fires his visual effects crew and hires his son, Roman Coppola, to do all the visual effects. And he
Exactly.
is the second unit director of this film. Roman Coppola is an Oscar-winning screenwriter now, but I think he's mostly known for doing things like this with his dad. It was films like this and that really... this, and I think Godfather 3 is where Roman Coppola and Sofia Coppola, who's also a famous director in her own right, learned a lot that they know about filmmaking from this set. Speaking of Godfather 3, Winona Ryder was supposed to play, oh God, now I can't remember her name, the Corleone daughter.
Oh gosh, why can't I think of her name right now?
Is it Maria? I can't. It's been so long since I've seen Godfather 3.
Gosh, it isn't. Of course, it's an Italian name.
She was attached to it for a long time and quit pretty close to production because of exhaustion, apparently, Winona Ryder. And so at the last minute, he again hires one of his kids. Sofia Coppola plays Al Pacino's daughter in Godfather 3. She felt so bad about that, Winona Ryder did, for leaving him in that bind, that she is actually the person who brought this project to him.
Yeah.
She was being approached to, this was going to be made as a made-for-TV movie by the director Michael Apted.
What?
Yeah. Who's, at that time at least, was well known as a documentarian. He was going to make this film for TV, and she was approached to play Mina for TV, and she brought her Francis Ford Coppola kind of as a peace offering. Hey, would you be interested in this? And he's like, fuck yeah, I'd be interested in this. I love Dracula. This is so freaking creepy.
Yeah.
This movie just creeps me the hell out. In the book, I think Jonathan Harker pretty much comes to the conclusion that Dracula is this driver of the coach.
That's what I kind of draw from it too, from everything.
You think?
Because he doesn't have, I mean, he operates the entire castle by himself. There's no butlers, there's nothing. There's no actual drivers, so it's probably all him. And
Okay, y'all are all too young for this. I'm getting ready to go
old man Sammie, all right.
Old man Sammie making an appearance. The backlash when it was announced who was playing Harker in this
Keanu.
was amazing and tremendous. It was tantamount to Tom Cruise in The Mummy.
Yeah.
It was people were killing this selection.
Because
This
what had he
casting
done but
choice.
before this? Bill and Ted, Point
Yep,
Break.
yep.
He hadn't even done Speed yet. I mean, this is still 80s
Yep.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves.
And he's
He's admittedly not very good in this film.
he's not.
He has the
Well,
weakest link.
And
Everyone loves Keanu Reeves,
The
but
weakest link.
yeah,
Goodbye.
I read somewhere that he was like tired. He was exhausted from previous
Isn't that the one
projects or
Rider
something.
effect?
I don't. Oh,
Winona Ryder effect. Tell me about this Winona Ryder effect.
maybe.
Well, apparently she said the Coppola she was, so she couldn't do Godfather 3, and now we're hearing that Keanu
Oh,
said,
yeah,
I was
she's-
bad in this movie for Coppola because I was exhausted too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically had the same excuse.
Well, I mean, I'm sure this was a very, by all accounts, it's very tough to work with him.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he was pushing but still.
And honestly, I don't mind
it
his.
was so funny.
I don't mind his performance that much in this
I
film.
don't
I don't either.
I think he does a good job, but
I think Variety had the headline.
Yeah.
Bill is Harker or something like that. It
But-
was just they killed it.
But yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. He was probably a not great choice.
But to have that dynamic
Mm-hmm.
and chemistry that they have to have, Jacob said it recently. You can go ahead and finish off for me about that chemistry, what you were saying to me the other day.
Well, I mean, it just kind of works. I mean, the character of Harker, I don't think that you can really, especially in the scene we're getting ready to see here, we're going to see Gary Oldman really defend the Order of the Dracula, which is this is a very brilliant scene, just Gary Oldman's performance alone. I don't think if Keanu Reeves was, anyone else was Harker, that the character of Gary Oldman, his acting here would be so powerful. He just stormed.
Speaking of, I'll turn up here a little bit. I think there's a naivety to him, to Keanu's
yeah,
performance.
there is.
That he just kind of comments and
young and
laughs
naive.
about it.
Yes.
Because in his head, oh, that's a 400-year-old picture.
I'm probably getting ready to get killed for this. I'm not a fan of this Dracula look.
Oh, really?
I am.
I'm the big hair and I'm not. It doesn't have to be Bela Lugosi. I understand it's a different look. I don't like it as a vampire look. I mean, it's just a.
Dracula shall right to be found. What devil or witch was ever so great as a killer whose blood flows in these
It's the
veins?
hair. The hair.
I was gonna say, is it the hair?
Yeah,
Because
it's the hair.
I can see
The
why.
face and stuff is
great.
Is good. Yeah, I like that.
It's just
don't like
I
that.
get what you're saying. A lot of people say the same thing when I have this conversation.
Looks like he's got a heart attached to his head.
Well, you know, they actually did what the hair here was. It was trimmed back to fit Vlad, the look of the portraits
That's
of Vlad the
true.
Impaler. And also
He
something
shaved.
that I kind of take from this, and you're a makeup artist, Whitney, maybe you can't, but I see some of Bela Lugosi in this as well.
A little.
The makeup is a cross between a Lugosi and the forehead.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the shape of his
Yeah.
face, too, is a little similar to Lugosi. I like it mainly because it's different. It's not something you've seen in any other, and there's something otherworldly about it. That it's so freaking old. Even for this that takes place in near 1900, that's still old fashioned. That's still hundreds of year old fashioned. You know what I mean? Or it comes across as that way, and that's what I like about it. And he gets that sense that something's completely off with him, other than just being totally creepy.
Well, and
he's not who he says he is and presents himself to
To
be.
share its life.
The shadow is another in-camera effect that's done by another actor off-screen with another light source. So you see Gary Oldman, and then you see the shadow too doing something completely different, which is
Your
a practical effect.
most highly of your tongue.
The shadow play in here reminds me a lot of course, Nosferatu, and I think that's probably the way that Coppola was going.
I heard Coppola mention Nosferatu as what he considered to be the greatest Dracula adaptation.
I believe I heard that too. Yeah, yeah.
You may rely on me, Count. Forgive my curiosity, but why 10 houses in such precise locations?
Okay, the last thing I'm going to say about Keanu's performance. It's just unfortunate that we have to have him doing a British accent.
Instead of Johnny Depp.
But you could easily see Johnny Depp
They-
doing this.
Johnny Depp was supposed to play Harker at one point. That's who Coppola originally wanted to.
Everyone wanted Johnny Depp, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we'll have to skip ahead here a little bit. We're watching this film. This is such an easy film to just sit and get lost in.
I'm sure we could probably get into it now since we're sitting here looking at him. Is Gary Oldman one of the unsung acting heroes of our generation?
I believe he is.
Well, I'd
Does
say
he ever get the credit he's duly
No.
deserved?
I don't think so.
I guess
He can play anything.
yeah, he's very versatile. And I guess it depends on what you mean by unsung. Like as far as awards goes, he's never gotten his Oscar. That I think he should have won for this.
He
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to that extent, yeah, I'd say he probably is an unsung.
Promptly suffers a complete mental breakdown.
Richard Grant to me is the most unrecognizable actor in this because I know him as he is now, and then looking at him in this is like, holy shit, who is that? He looks familiar.
It's funny for me because as a kid, I remember seeing him play a vampire in a Disney movie called The Little Vampire.
Really?
Oh, that's funny.
So when I think of him, I think of the butler from Gosford Park, and then it just didn't connect in my head that this is him. And the incredible musician Tom Waits as Renfield is pretty incredible.
I think he
yes.
is amazing.
Isn't he great?
He
He
is.
is great in this.
Did you guys probably saw the IMDb facts of who else was
I
supposed
didn't.
to play?
I didn't.
Steve Buscemi.
Oh, that's
was
right.
originally
Who
up
they
for, and
wanted.
I could have seen that.
I could
think-
And
see
he
that.
actually declined the role.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and I could have seen that. He's a phenomenal actor as well. I think he's another one who. who's
But you know, I
unsung.
think it worked out. I mean,
It
this
did.
is an
'cause
incredible
Tom Waits
performance.
Is fantastic too.
Yeah.
The flood gives you life.
There's a lot of big names in this movie,
Oh, yeah.
too.
Yeah, I mean, look at this cast: Gary Oldman, Winona Ryder, Keanu Reeves, Carrie Elwes, Anthony Hopkins. I mean, can you think of a better Van Helsing? I mean, other than Chris Dim.
Chris!
I like to toot my own horn around here, folks.
Who was
A
it?
young Monica Bellucci is one of the brides.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
You know, and Liam
forgot about
Neeson
that.
was opted at first for Van Helsing.
Van Helsing.
He wanted the role.
Yeah.
I think Hopkins really did great in it, though.
I think at this point he was a bit too young to play this.
Yeah, I agree.
He was fairly new in his career. Oh God, I love the way he floats across the
Oh.
room. It's so creepy.
Yeah.
I read it's kind of hard to
That's a
see.
good effect.
It's so dark. It's so dimly lit in the scene, but the walls are they slowly contract as the scene goes on.
Really?
To give that claustrophobic feel, like he's always behind you. As he looks, the razor.
I was just... supposedly he was drunk during the scene.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I read that too. Be like an episode of Friends.
I have a prediction. Gary Oldman's going to get his Oscar this year for playing Winston Churchill in the new movie. I think it's called Churchill, to be honest with you. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
That's very possible.
Ooh, I want to see that.
The makeup looks terrible, but I'm sure his performance is going to be great. He's had some very notable performances over the years. Sid and Nancy, where he played
that's
Sid
right.
Vicious. Yeah.
Did you ever see True Romance?
The one constant in Batman.
Yes,
And
he's great. in
True
True
Romance.
Romance.
He's Drexel. Yeah,
Yeah.
Drexel in True Romance.
Commissioner
oh my
Gordon.
gosh. Commissioner Gordon.
He's the bad guy in Leon, the professional.
Oh, that movie.
And
Everyone.
And
Fifth Element.
The Velvet, yeah, the hair.
Yes.
he was great. And this is just my personal opinion. Air Force One.
Yeah.
He totally threw
I forgot
Harrison
about
Ford
Air
for a
Force
loop.
One, yeah.
Like I was like, that's who I
Yeah.
want to see on screen. Kind of the same thing with Alan Rickman as Sheriff Nottingham.
And speaking of, you said Alan Rickman again. Like Harry Potter fans especially recognize Gary Oldman for working with him and as Sirius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his
And
name was
Snape.
actually tossed around for this role too.
Darkest Hour is the Churchill.
Darkest Hour, that's right, yeah. He's got a hell of a filmography.
Yes, he does.
You know, I also kind of think that Daniel
Tinker Tailor
Day-Lewis
Soldier Spy.
That would be pretty damn interesting.
Yeah.
Daniel Day-Lewis as Dracula.
is a very underrated, and he was actually another one who was in talks for this role, as
Yeah.
well as Andy Garcia and Antonio Banderas, who would later play the vampire Amon, one of my favorites in Interview with the Vampire.
I can't see.
I can't see.
Banderas, though.
I can see Daniel Day-Lewis
Yeah.
doing damn near anything, but yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it worked out perfectly.
It
I mean,
did.
Gary
Gary
Oldman's
Garcia,
amazing.
fantastic.
Played Mason Verger in Hannibal.
Almost went
Oh, I almost
uncredited
forgot about
in
that.
that,
Hannibal, he was fantastic in that. The makeup,
Yeah.
oh my gosh,
which you wouldn't have known it was him if you didn't know it was him.
right?
Oh, this is so
This
creepy.
is
Crawling
beautiful.
This is
down.
one of the best scenes of him skilling him.
I love, yeah.
Played Lee Harvey Oswald and JFK.
That's right. He played Lee Harvey.
To my family and to my beloved Mina, I said nothing of my fears as he would.
I'm going to do something a little different here. I'm gonna pop this out real quick. I'm gonna put in the special feature disc of my DVD and talk a little bit about the making of this and the whole production of this film, pre-production. It's unusual, even to the way Francis Ford Coppola worked with his cast. From my understanding, they started off pre-production once they had a cast in place by having them all come up to his ranch in Napa Valley and sitting around a table reading the book. They were,
Yes.
which pissed off some actors and some other actors liked it. And
Anthony Hopkins said it took him 2 days. to do
2
it.
days.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about Anthony Hopkins is he is notoriously known as being an actor who will just take a job, at least nowadays, as for a paycheck and doesn't give a shit about like preparing for a role and doing a role. Which, you know, if you're as good as Anthony Hopkins, you can afford to do that, but most actors aren't of his caliber.
Gary Oldman made me.
Gary Oldman may be, but maybe not in 1992.
No, not.
But I wanted to show just a little bit of the tensions on set. I one of these special features shows really. Let's see, maybe it's the blood, the making of Dracula. Here, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit through this. You can see how difficult Francis Ford Coppola can be to work with, and how some of the other actors can be kind of divas.
Would kill. Yeah, that's it. If you could give me a position,
It's so cool watching
as it were.
Gary Oldman in the old Dracula makeup and costume, and he's just in his
Right.
accent.
Just at the top of the stairs.
You're as equally below him as you were above him. Then this is not it. Cut. Cut. Nothing like what we're doing. You saying the line? No, because the only way to do it is to say the line. Then you know that when you're at that line, you're living in the house. with
So
humans.
aggravated.
I don't know what you're waiting for because we can't cure you. You're the one doing
No,
it.
I'm waiting for Keanu. All I'm doing is waiting for Keanu. Because I can stop.
All I'm doing is waiting for Keanu. I love that.
Just walk right out of the thing.
He storms off. He's all pissed off. Isn't that great?
Action!
fuck is he doing?
house would kill me when you come through. Okay? It's just that one line I'm going for.
I know you are.
Why is it I can't do it?
No, all I'm saying.
That's exactly what it's like directing Sammie in a movie. Damn it. Just say it this way, Sammie. And then he argues.
There isn't such a mark. It goes by the line.
Yes, but then I can enter. Francis.
I get a little overzealous, and I want my way too.
You could see where his hair
Yeah,
is
it's
shaved up
shaved
here.
off for the makeup.
While I still got this disc, I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. And we'll come back to it when we're watching the film. There's a scene where later in the film where they all the guys, including Van Helsing, are confronting Dracula, and he has taken the form of this giant bat, and he's very menacing, and he stomps the cross on fire, and they shot this, and apparently they weren't giving Francis Ford Coppola the degree of fear and anxiety that he wanted to see on screen. So he made them blindfold all the actors in the scene except for Gary Oldman, in his costume and makeup, walk around to each one of them and whisper something into their ear. Or just, he would come up to them and like push them a little bit and scare them just to kind of get them on edge.
Yeah.
And they show this in the...
Thousands of people. I served the cross in vain. I was betrayed. Look what your God has done to me. Your word God is over.
That has to be one of my favorite makeups.
Isn't that amazing?
Which
And that's him.
takes
Look,
so
look
many
at him. He
forms.
takes a break.
Because they both came at the same time.
What do you do when you do a take and it seems pretty good, but you feel there's more emotion, more feeling that you could do? So what do you tell him? Okay, next take. And so, okay.
I went through this weekend with the commercial guy. Because, I mean, I
You should try some shit like this then.
Whisper to you and talk to you.
I did one, I thought, in my head, I went, yeah, I nailed it. And the dude went, no. I said, what? I was like, you could see me just go, ooh, what do you mean that's not good? That was freaking great. It's exactly what you asked for. You told me to slow down. I was starting to go,
Be real quiet on stage, right?
So he's
And
just
then-
walking around randomly. They don't know when he's going to come up to him.
Might say anything.
Oh, this is
It's
awesome.
meant for you.
huh.
That was spooky. He would stop and in someone's ear, you know, he would say something really demonic and twisted and sick. And he can be pretty twisted and sick, Gary.
He looked like he was kind of scared.
But you didn't know Benny was going to pop up in your face.
What is this? A cross.
He said, frighten them. Which is like giving me. Look at that look. You want to do that with me?
But you know what? As unconventional, as crazy as this technique seems, I think it worked because
It
that
does.
scene in particular kind of draws all the air out of the room. It's a freaky scene. It stands out amongst a movie full of creepy things.
It does.
And it's not just the special effects and the makeup; it's the acting that sells all this. Okay, I had to play that a little bit because I was very. And before we move on, I want to play a little bit of this
Ranges it.
part of
As he's going along, he's reading his journal.
the documentary about the special effects.
And the train, and it looks like it's traveling on top of the book. Say this is the camera, and the train was about 20 feet away from us. And then the book was put literally, because it was a small book, it was a real journal. The book was put literally right next to the lens. To be able to get the shadow onto a little book like this wasn't going to work. So Gene, my father, decided, well, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to recreate the book 20 feet away. And then use the same train, put one light up, make a shadow of the smoke, and make it go across the book. And I'm sitting here going, well, that's going to have to be like a 20-foot wide book. And Gene says, well, okay.
The train sequence is, there's so many things going on. The complications I think we had to deliver 22 seconds worth in order, which is long for this type of situation, particularly for traveling right to left. It also involved
So
a very
detailed.
small
I know,
set
it's
of
crazy.
train.
What was the budget for this movie?
We had
Is that right?
40 million.
that was
The budget?
fixed. It was
In
only
94,
3 feet.
92,
92.
that was pretty.
And in front of that, rocks and some smaller trees.
But it's funny. When did Terminator 2 come out? Was that 91?
Moved a little faster,
90?
and then the
That
immediate
famously had a
outside the
budget of
train
$100 million. I mean,
fast.
James Cameron's known for his huge budgets and huge films, which yeah, I understand. But that film was a big groundbreaker for digital effects. But then you look at a film that didn't use even half that budget and did no digital effects, and I would say is equally as impressive of a visually stunning film.
It is. And
$40 million budget, grossed 215 worldwide.
Wow. So it was a pretty successful film. I mean,
I think if we go back to Coppola and his style, something interesting about Coppola, he's one of my favorite directors, and something interesting about him is that he's always toyed in horror.
yeah.
You know, he was one of the directors of The Terror with Jack Nicholson and Boris Karloff.
Yeah.
But he did, of course, as Dracula. He was involved in Mary Shelley's and then Sleepy Hollow, then Jeepers Creepers.
He was a producer of those, yeah.
And it's like,
Jeepers Creepers.
there's another one he directed called Twixt, which was very interesting. Did anybody see that?
I watched half of it and couldn't get through it.
Oh.
I thought it was so bad, but maybe I was just at the time I watched it, I wasn't in the mood for it.
But
that's a more recent. That's a much more recent
yeah,
thing.
It's
yeah,
not nearly
very low budget
this.
movie.
Yeah, it's a
Very
very
low
low budget.
budget.
It's
I was
interesting.
into the Val Kilmer, and it had some beautiful scenes. I wouldn't compare the two, but it's interesting that Coppola kind of delves through a darker path.
Doubled its
sometimes.
budget. It made $82 million in the US.
Well, I mean, just look at his filmography. He's made some incredible films. Apocalypse Now, the
one I
Godfather
haven't
trilogy.
Apocalypse Now.
Oh, you haven't seen Apocalypse Now?
I'm a
Oh, wow.
huge Coppola fan. I always have been. I remember watching Jack when I was in elementary school. I then watched The Godfather before. I read the book first, then I watched the movie in 6th grade.
What may be his best film, The Conversation. You ever seen that? Starring
heard of it.
Gene Hackman. Oh, it's an incredible film.
Conversation. Oh, this one sounds really familiar. Gene Hackman.
It's the 70s. Gene Hackman plays a audio surveillance technician, the guy who's like an expert at using surveillance and it's a very paranoid thriller type film.
I have heard.
It's an amazing movie.
I've heard of it and I've seen parts of it. I didn't
What?
remember the title.
Oh, did you guys hear that? Outside?
What?
The hell is that?
Those damn wolves again.
Wolves?
Hey, I gotta go run them
Who has
off.
wolves?
I'm gonna
Dan,
go,
be careful out
I'm
there.
gonna go run them off. I'll be right back, guys. Just take a call or something.
You got your
God,
balls?
here we go.
Crucifix?
For wolves? I don't think a crucifix is gonna help with wolves, Jacob.
Just like every white
How about
guy,
I
he's
take a
gonna go
gun?
check out the problem. Like, well, there goes Dad.
You know, we gotta go. It's a man fix it thing.
Man, fix
We gotta fix it.
You gotta fix the situation.
I mean, hasn't he watched enough horror to know that there's something you're gonna go discover it? It's just
We'll find out soon enough.
Let's take a call.
Okay.
Wreak, Havoc, Film Boss Podcast.
Hello, Sammie. This is Bella.
Well, hello, Mr. Lugosi.
I'm calling to you from the afterworld.
Yes, we have a pretty big fan base in the afterworld. I hope normally it's from hell. I hope you're not there.
I don't know that I'm actually in hell, but it feels like hell.
Oh, it does.
They keep playing that Bauhaus song
Bela Lugosi's dead.
non-stop.
Yeah.
But I thought you liked Peter Murphy.
I'm sick of that goddamn song.
Lugosi, you were great as Dracula.
No shit. I hear you talking about my film.
Yeah, your
Yes.
film? No,
Well,
we're
no, not
talking
really.
about Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula.
What?
With Gary Oldman.
That son of a bitch!
I'm sorry. We're talking about Dracula, just not your Dracula.
So you're not talking about the Dracula. A bullshit imposter!
Are you the Dracula? I thought Vlad the Impaler was the Dracula.
Bela is the Dracula.
Oh, okay.
You were excellent, Bella, as Dracula, but Gary Oldman was good too. He was
Fucking
terrific.
Gary Oldman.
Hey, where's your friend?
He's not even double jointed.
He's not even double jointed.
So how's Karloff?
You would never sleep with Gary Oldman.
What? Yeah, I wouldn't sleep with you either.
Yeah, I hate to bust your bubble,
Bela
Bella.
had such sex appeal. Am I right, Whitney?
Hey. Okay, Bella. Gosh.
Are you living the vampire lifestyle? You go back.
Bela is sick.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it does sound like a pretty bad cough. Do they not have doctors in wherever you are at the afterlife?
Bela needs his medicine.
Okay.
Do you need some garlic?
Bela's looking for his special medicine.
Oh, what is your special medicine?
Yeah. Do tell.
Well, I don't know what they call it on Earth in 2017, but back in my day we called it H.
AIDS? What?
Are you sure you're not talking about morphine?
We called it the dragon. I chased the dragon.
Are you chasing the dragon?
Oh, chasing.
You doing
Or as I called
heroin?
it, the Dracul.
Bella, that's bad.
No wonder you're an angry person.
He's the son of the dragon.
Sammie,
Yes.
Sammie.
Yes, Mr. Lugosi.
I need you to help me score.
Hey,
I'm sick, Sammie.
I know a guy.
Hit me up after the show.
Okay, we sure will.
I've got to go. The hounds of hell are calling.
Yeah, so we wondered, make sure you send Dan back, please, because he went out after the hounds. I don't know that he's going to make it.
Yes.
We're big fans, though.
Yep.
Of course you are.
Love you long time.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. I bid you farewell.
What, Bela Lugosi's doing heroin? Was that a thing?
I didn't know they had
Who the
No.
hell played Bela Lugosi in Ed Wood?
I was just thinking about his name is
Martin Landau.
Yes,
Damn
Martin
it!
Landau, that's right.
I was so going to get him with a Martin Landau
Yeah.
question, and I
Whitney
completely
was leaning
blew
towards
it.
it because she brought up Karloff.
Because I was like, where's Karloff? I was hoping that there would be some kind of...
Oh,
Answer.
we got it. Let's take another call.
Let's take another.
Wreak, Havoc, Film Buzz Podcast.
Hello, Sammy. This is Vincent Price again.
Well, Mr. Price, welcome back.
Oh, thanks for having me back.
we ironically enough, we just had a conversation with Bela Lugosi, so it must be haunt season.
He's one of my dear friends.
All right, that does not surprise me. I can see all you guys just kind of hanging out together.
He's always hitting me up down here in the afterworld.
Again, y'all just must be in limbo or something. Nobody actually in hell.
He's always hitting me up saying, Vincent, help me score.
Oh, do you know what he's trying to do?
What's that, Sammy?
He's doing heroin.
No shit.
Did you help him?
I gave him his first hit at a party in 1954.
You did. Who turned you into it? Karloff?
Oh, I sold, baby. I didn't use.
Oh, okay. I hear you. So how are things in the afterlife?
It's slow, Sammy.
Is
I've
this-
got nothing to do but listen to your show.
Oh, yeah.
Oh gosh, Vincent Price listens?
Yes, I told you we're big in the afterlife.
good God.
Most time in hell, but it's
Lugosi and now Price.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a big honor.
I hear you're talking about Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yes, sir, we are. We're big fans here.
I was going to appear in this feature motion picture.
Oh, yeah? What happened?
I
Did you die?
But you were in Edward Scissorhands, and that was great.
That's right. You should be proud of
I
that.
was in Edward Scissorhands, and I was supposed to go straight from that set to meet with Francis Ford Coppola, but I didn't make it.
Yeah, I don't know that you would have met with him. I don't know that you two would have jibed at all.
Yeah, not sure about that.
Well, I wasn't going to act in the film. I was going to give him a free hit of age.
So Coppola was a user too?
Well, he would have been.
I hear you, Vincent. Are you making good money at that?
Yes, I'm still making a pretty decent living. Or unliving.
I'm sure there's no consequences doing heroin in hell, so it should be a pretty big business.
As a matter of fact, it is.
Are you still a smoker?
Sammie, I've got to go. Caleb's knocking on my door again.
It's always a pleasure, Mr. Price. Call back anytime.
I'll do that, Sammie.
He's tremendous. That's the second time Mr. Price has called in.
Oh.
Nice.
And he called in last time, and I said, "Hey, I know where we can find a mannequin of you."
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What the hell?
There's wolves.
I don't know that those were wolves.
I got bit.
You did?
Yeah. Let me give me my rag. I need to tie it off.
That's a different movie. That stars Jack Nicholson.
Damn, Children of the Night.
That's what I started
What
saying. I don't
music they make.
think it was a wolf.
It's true.
I don't think it was a wolf.
You don't think so?
No, we took a phone call.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
The
Good call.
Afterlife called twice.
Oh my! They always love to listen to our show.
I'm glad it's not hell all the time too.
Well,
So
yeah.
we don't know where they're at. They're just in the afterlife. But Bela Lugosi called.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the Hounds of Hell you were dealing with. not
Oh,
the
wow.
wolves.
Yikes!
So yeah,
That's pretty creepy.
You might want to look after that bite. Get an antibiotic or something.
Yeah.
And they both
some
were
more
asking
coffee.
Sammie for heroin.
Yes, we come to find out they're all big heroin users. Well, I'm sorry, Vincent Price isn't a user; he's a dealer.
Oh, Vincent called again?
Yes, Vincent.
Damn it! I always miss him.
I know he's such a pleasant.
I love
fellow.
Vincent Price. Call back, Vincent, anytime. I like to talk to you.
At some point, I'll come up with a voice.
I don't know what you're talking about, but okay.
That would be a twist.
All right.
Got a really good surfer dude, man.
We have Monica Bellucci crawling up Keanu's body.
This scene was another one that I thought visually was one of the better scenes, and maybe one of the more underrated scenes though of this film.
You can say what you really want to say. I know Whitney's right here.
No, go for it. I really don't care. I really don't care.
This
'Cause
was
honestly,
pretty cool scene.
Yeah.
well, okay, I'll just say it. I mean, it's sexual, and it is a sexy scene. It's very much what a vampire should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not to delve into y'all's personal life at all, but if y'all recreated this,
Okay.
look at Whit.
Let's
That may be the greatest thing. I bet your dad's never
we
said
get
that, has
the
he?
That
snakes
would be
to
another
stay in your hair.
podcast. You guys are lucky we're friends.
So why do they call you the creeper again?
I have to live vicariously through the young folks.
Sammie, I have to plead the fifth on that.
Jacob is turning 8 shades of red over there.
Okay, the sexiness and the creepiness is interrupted by. Oh, man,
Now
this is
that-
so freaky. How dare you touch him? He belongs to me.
Does that puppet work?
No, no. They had dancers who choreographed that.
Yeah.
That intertwined body movement. And I believe it was shot
Okay,
backwards.
is he speaking Transylvanian?
He is speaking Romanian, but it's not
It's
the.
Transylvanian. It's not a language. Is it?
Well-
God, I'm an idiot.
No, you're fine. You're fine. But
dialect?
it's definitely Romanian, but it is not the older.
Transylvania twist.
It's not the older language that was known early on in the 15th century, actually, or prior. But yes, it is definitely Romanian.
This might be the creepiest thing of the whole film right here. He feeds a baby as a snack to the.
This one in Lucy later was pretty.
Yeah, that's pretty. And then he just laughs with delight and the heart.
This laugh.
I love it.
Fantastic laugh scene altogether.
All right, I'm gonna skip ahead some.
There was famously in the mid-90s a pinball made on this movie.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I remember that. It was a good one.
It's not a bad pinball. The two greatest things about it though was that it had moving magnets under the playfield. I
remember that.
would capture the ball and make it dance across the playfield, and it would go. The Children of the Night, what music they made.
Oh, wow. I love that.
And then the laugh is in it all the
That's
time.
awesome.
That laugh he does right there.
I'd love to hear that.
The 90s was such a cool time for pinball machines.
God, it was amazing. But that was a decent pinball. It wasn't great, but I mean it was a good one.
We're just skipping from sex scene to sex scene. Okay, now Dracula, who looks like a
Bestiality.
big beast.
He's getting it.
I guess we could call this rape.
No, but
She's under a trance.
totally willing. She's totally willing.
She's under a trance, though.
Then this should be the worst movie ever.
She's willing, obviously.
She's under his control, so that's kind of rapish.
Yeah.
Well, that's something that vampires do. They hypnotize and they charm.
Slit roofies.
All right.
Well, Lugosi did just call in about heroin earlier.
Didn't. All honesty, again, not.
Of course, I keep going.
That looks too much like a werewolf to me.
Well,
I think it's supposed to look like a big
He is
beast.
supposed to be a beast.
But I don't even like the look of it.
I love it. I think it's great. I mean, I love that we see Dracula in very different forms throughout the film.
Yeah.
He changes. What's the word for it? I guess he transforms.
Yeah,
from
he
He
one-
does have the transportation and the transformation. I mean, and the thing is, to kind of pay homage to lore, the spirit and the entity which is called Strigoi in Romanian, that is. Strigoi means spirit, entity, vampire. It could even like manifest itself into a werewolf. So Coppola did kind of pay respect to that lore of transforming into these things.
Now, I
Still,
don't
as a
know.
werewolf, I don't like the look.
I don't know a whole lot about vampires, but from what I understand, the whole fangs. That's an invention of Bram Stoker's, from what I've heard.
Yeah.
This type of vampire, which we consider the quintessential type of vampire, like as a person who seduces and pops his fangs out and drinks your blood, that's pretty much a Bram Stoker invention. Now, vampires have been around for a long time.
Oh yeah.
But not that conventional idea. Another thing that I don't know that one thing you see different in this iteration from other vampires is Dracula's out and about in the daytime a lot.
Yeah.
Now his powers is diminished in the daytime, but he can. It's not like he burns up in the sun like a lot of vampire movies.
Professor?
Well, that's.
Like Andy Rice characters, they just blow up and they set on fire in the sunlight. I think his character is just. He's not as powerful in the daytime.
Which they've used in modern day. Daywalkers was
Yeah.
Or they use heavy makeup or something along those lines.
All right, we're skipping around. We're about halfway through the film now.
Now, okay.
Okay.
They
Pause it.
play on these themes a lot with Interview. The Dracula is the one monster that always is a very sexual being. Now, with Interview, with Anne Rice's stuff, they really play the fact that he really doesn't care what gender it is.
Yeah.
No,
But very in Langella's film and some of the Hammer stuff and this, it's very male female. You see a lot of that. You don't see a lot of. Is that a product of the times or the story or?
You know,
When are we going to see gay
be.
vampires?
I mean, a lot of people would argue that Interview with the Vampire is a gay.
Well, yeah,
but
yeah.
they don't
Yeah.
spell it out.
Yeah.
I think that's mostly Hollywood not trying to make something they're trying to make something that's going to sell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because especially 20 years ago when Interview with the Vampire came out, that's not something that you would want to see. Something it's explicitly a gay vampire. I think that's why they kind of had to make it more
So is
innuendo.
for us to revisit vampires now and to make them popular again, is it going to take some kind of that kind of?
I
I
say they're
don't
still
think
popular.
vampires. Yeah, I honestly don't think vampires have gone anywhere. Mentioning
Because-
Interview with the Vampire, that's one of my favorites. And then this one too. I would say these two coming out in the
These are
90s.
25 years old.
But the thing is,
And
it's with vampires though. I don't think they've completely gone away at all because Guillermo del
The
Toro
Strain.
has had a successful round with The Strain, which he has.
Blade 2.
Blade 2
Yes, Blade
was fantastic.
Again, we're talking about older
Okay,
movies
but-
other than the Strain.
But The Strain is
other than The
different,
Strain.
and it doesn't take anything on something sexual or sensual or anything remotely romantic. That's
But
just.
they're talking about rebooting Universal Monsters.
Oh,
if
well.
we're going to do Dracula, is that the way?
Bad idea.
Somebody's going to do it.
Is that the way to go? Do you now embrace that
I think it's already been
asexuality of a vampire?
Yeah,
And
sure. I mean,
Sure.
why not? I think Hollywood can get away with it now,
Yeah.
where they couldn't 20, 25 years ago.
Could one argue even, and I will even say this, just from the scene with the shaving and Keanu Reeves and Gary Oldman in this, I take away a little bit of, that could be a little homosexual as well, depending on what you're looking at. And the same thing with Interview with the Vampire, I heard a lot about that, especially Lestat and Pitt.
Well, I mean, Rice is
Yeah.
that's her wheelhouse. I mean, she plays that stuff up a lot.
But I
Yes.
don't think it matters. I think it's sexuality in general.
And
that
we've always had the female
vampires.
side of it with the brides, and that's always been there.
Well, look at the Suki Stackhouse novels in True
That's
Blood.
true, True
I
Blood.
mean, about every
Yeah.
other vampire in that is gay.
Yeah.
Or the idea of
Well,
sexuality
and
is
that's
very
true.
fluid.
I had forgot about that, but yeah,
That was
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
hugely
Very-
successful
yeah.
Yeah, well,
until
yeah.
a couple of years ago. So I don't think vampires have gone anywhere. If
Well, I didn't mean
anything,
that they've
Dracula
gone. Oh, no,
has
I know.
gone. Dracula is not as popular.
As it used to,
Yeah,
to a degree.
and I
I hear
think
you may be making a comeback in the comic book.
that'd be cool.
That's a character that's kind of in public domain. Anybody can use it.
I would love to see like a Billy the Kid versus Dracula movie. Something a little interesting.
Where'd that come from?
Yeah,
It's
I'm just saying.
interesting you mentioned Dracula being in the public domain, which he is. However, the reason this film is called Bram Stoker's Dracula is because Universal maintained that they owned the title Dracula, which was
Yeah.
bullshit, but that's what they said. And to avoid a legal battle, they called it Bram Stoker's Dracula. And Francis Ford Coppola likes to say, "Oh, whenever I adapt a film, I like to have the author's name, like Mario Puzo
Yeah.
or John Grisham's The Rainmaker." He's done that a couple times. But the real reason is because they didn't want to have a legal battle to call it Dracula.
Well, I wondered about that before I even watched the special features on this because I'm like, well, this is Columbia and Universal had Dracula, so
Well, really, no one has Dracula, but they knew it was going to be a battle one way or the other, and they wanted to avoid it. They almost called this film D,
Oh,
but I think Bram Stoker's Dracula is a good title.
suitable.
I love how over the top Anthony Hopkins is in this scene.
Oh, yeah.
He's really trying to get his point across.
We may still save her precious soul.
She's the bitch of the devil, the devil's concubine.
Jack, Hilson. I starve. Feed me.
Okay, while they're out, Mina and Jonathan are finally getting married in a Greek church, or Eastern Orthodox church.
Funny considering historically Vlad was Orthodox Christian, and this is actually an Orthodox Christian ceremony.
Wedding, yeah. This.
I condemn you to living death, to eternal hunger for living blood.
Have we seen this much blood on film since The Shining?
You know, that's a good question.
This is a ton of blood being used here.
But a lot of the blood was even cut out in certain scenes. I
But
think.
one consolidated scene with the blood. Have we seen
I mean,
much since The
a
Shining?
big giant amount of blood all at once.
Since The Shining.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I guess Nightmare on Elm Street had a lot. with
It did. That's
Yeah,
right. Nightmare did have a ton.
The blood fountain.
They're really getting it there in the church, aren't they?
Johnny Depp yet again.
There we
Oh,
go.
God, I love that.
So much blood.
Yeah, I love that though.
The blood cannons.
Dan's right. It's good.
Okay, so I love how it fades out and then fades back into dead Lucy.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And she looks so creepy.
All that white. All that white. Her face is white. The dress is white. Everything's white.
I love how they're all just sitting around like they know they failed her. And we're going to skip ahead just a little bit to this amazing crypt scene.
Oh yeah.
This is so great.
So infamous.
But on Lucy, though, her costume was rumored to have been inspired by
Elizabeth Bathory, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, you know, as well. It's so eerie.
Gentlemen, must we desecrate poor Lucy's grave? She died on
Carrie always is great in this.
If Miss Lucy is dead, no wrong can be done to her. And if she's not dead, huh?
What are you saying, man? That she's been buried alive?
No. All I say is
Buried alive.
she's undead.
What are you saying, man?
This is insane.
Gentlemen, shall we? 1, 2, 3.
All right, for our home listening audience.
As we got quiet and started watching movies.
Yeah, I think everyone did.
Van Helsing and his merry men have opened up Lucy's tomb and to find it is totally empty. She very conveniently has that glass coffin.
Yeah, right? Visually it's pleasing, but
It works really well for this film.
She lives beyond the grace of God, a wanderer in the outer darkness. She's vampire, Nosferatu. These creatures do not die like the bee after the first sting, but instead grow strong and become immortal once infected by another.
So he's told them this before, but they don't. He has to show it to them. They don't buy it. Like he has to show them she's gone. She's not in that grave, in that coffin.
would you say that this is one of Van Helsing's, the one better
The best Van
adaptations of
Helsing?
Van Helsing?
Oh yeah,
I do
I
too.
would.
I would say that too.
It's a good one.
There's so much color.
better than Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I
he had
love
Kate
this.
Beckinsale.
This music
Yeah, say
here,
that
once
movie.
again.
That child was genuinely scared of her.
I would be.
Yeah.
I mean, the child actress was genuinely scared of
Looks a lot
Sadie
like my
Frost.
child. Freaks me out a little. They shot her movements backwards, so when they played it back forward, she would look a little bit unworldly. A little bit. Her movements are pretty creepy,
Interesting.
unnatural,
I like that.
inhuman, I guess. She's seducing him all over again.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, sure. Sounds great.
Now, did they do all the whiteness just for the stark contrast of that red on the mouth?
I think so.
There's a lot of
It's visually very stunning.
Yeah,
there's a lot of contrasts with the colors in this film, and some really talented artists that were responsible for some of the artwork behind it. And Sammie, Mike Mignola did some of the art, like as far as behind this film, and you know that
storyboard?
Yeah, some of the concept arts and stuff. But you know he obviously as a comic fan he did the graphic novel too.
Yeah.
Jim Steranko wrote on this film.
Did he really? God, I can only imagine. Good Lord, he didn't punch Coppola out?
Well, he was a project conceptualist. So I take that to mean like he did storyboarding and stuff like that and concept design.
God, could you imagine looking at storyboards done by Jim Steranko and Mike Mignola?
Oh, man.
They almost completely, what they call previs this whole film in storyboards to the point where they could play it from beginning to end with narration and acting like an animated film, which I'm sure exists somewhere. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, it'd be beautiful to see.
81 iterations of Dracula according to IMDb.
Wow.
81.
That's got to put him right up there with like Sherlock Holmes and some of those characters that have just been played to me. Well, he's in
Started
the,
with Dracula's death in 1921.
I thought
Spelled with a K.
I thought it was Bela Lugosi.
Oh, I thought
Nosferatu was the first.
Nosferatu.
Yeah, but
because they
then
couldn't
there
call
was-
it Dracula.
There was one
Yeah.
called
Because they didn't
Dracula's-
have the rights to it.
But Dracula's death?
Well, it's a foreign film. I don't know how.
Who had the rights to it? I thought they didn't have the rights until Lugosi.
It's spelled Drakula.
Ah, loophole.
Oh.
I don't know. Where
Let's
it's
skip
made.
ahead a
It's
little
some
bit.
form.
Are we forgetting about Blackula as well?
That is
so badass.
I don't know if I'll look at the scene the same after seeing the behind the scenes.
I know, right?
Yeah.
This is some incredible makeup design.
I love that.
I love it.
Now that's a vampire.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a vampire.
And but he sells it too. It's the acting.
It's
Yeah.
the
well.
acting.
I don't know if it's this makeup or the one prior. Was it the Beast one? But Gary Oldman had a allergic reaction,
Really?
so they had to have a stunt play it. I just don't know if it was this one or if it was that other Beast.
Oh, now he's transformed again into
That
a
was awesome.
shit ton of rats.
So what does he not appear as in this movie? He's rats. He's a wolf.
Before this, we've already skipped over. He appears as a green mist.
Yep.
A vapor
Yep.
enters the room. I don't know.
We have learned something much. Dracula fears us. He fears time. For if not, why does he hurry so? He is gone.
How'd you know?
Sorry to our audience. We're having to skip through this pretty. We're hitting some of the highlights just to kind of get through it on a reasonable time.
You know, and it's funny. Someone has done a list of all these Dracula movies, and he's got this ranked as 23rd.
What?
Yeah.
23rd
Oh wow.
Dracula movie. Behind Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Yeah. See, you can't take that list seriously.
But it's fun.
It's a comedian. Yeah, it's fun, but it's not one
It's
you can
just-
take seriously.
No.
Oh, this is a great scene where Anthony Hopkins finds the brides in daylight and takes care of business.
Yeah, think.
Damn, it's a big knife.
Kill them all. They're not no sets. It's so sick. Well, they're all sets. Couldn't see there for a minute. Sorry.
Now he's really provoking Dracula.
Yeah.
The castle was designed to look like the shape of a body of a human. if we can, I can't get back to it.
I find it funny that he even says Dracula and the name even Prince, like even calling Vlad and Prince by the legitimate names and titles he actually had historically.
When my time comes, will you do the same to me?
Something else really neat. Winona Ryder kisses Keanu Reeves in this, Gary Oldman, and Anthony Hopkins.
Just making out with everybody.
No, wait, no, let them
She gets around.
Could have been worse. Could have been Keanu.
This has just begun.
What? Okay.
Random thought. Squirrel.
Lindsay.
And they didn't all make it. Anthony Hopkins has a great line here. One of these lines.
We've all become God's madmen.
God's Madmen. That's a good title.
That's good.
That's a good title for a Dracula sequel.
I like it.
Now we're back to where it all started, at the altar in Dracula's castle. There at the cross, and the big Bowie knife, I guess you'd call it, is shoved into his chest. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I've done 2 paintings of this film, and I've tried to capture that image. And it's funny because Thomas Drago bought the painting that I did of that depiction, and it's like a collage of other images of
Really?
Dracula.
Good job, Thomas.
Our love is stronger.
Dracul means dragon, and it's funny because Drago is Italian, means dragon too, I believe.
Hmm.
I think that's what Thomas told me.
Yeah.
And Alexis.
And Thomas
pretty cool.
met Bram Stoker's nephew.
That's right.
Cool. What was
Or
it?
a relative
Yeah.
of his at a, I don't know what event, but something that he was involved in because of authors.
So she's finally dealt the fatal blow to end it for him, and I guess thus lifting the curse. Finally, the immortal Dracula is at peace.
And it looks nothing like Gary Oldman. We have not talked about Winona Ryder at all.
What's there to say?
Thief! Stop thief!
I like her. I'll admit it.
I haven't thought about that in a long time.
Yeah, me either.
A lot of people criticize this film for the casting of her and Keanu, but I actually think they're both pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, they're decent.
I like them.
I don't see why she'd be criticized personally. I don't see what she did. Her performance is fine, and it's great.
I think that's the problem. It's just fine.
Well, some people, I mean, they don't. This film's kind of hit and miss with audiences. I don't get it, but I've always liked it.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, I don't dislike the movie at all either. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's just I pick at it some, and
That's fine.
and
Oh yeah.
I'm not over the moon about it like a lot of people are, but it's I mean it's a good Dracula movie.
Yeah.
I would say it's in my top 5 Dracula films.
That's one of my favorite.
And I won't say Dracula films, vampire films. Top 5 vampire films.
That might be a stretch.
For me.
I can list like 5 right off the top of my head.
Well, I'm not top
Do
5
it.
vampire films.
There is no better vampire film than The Lost Boys.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yes, I have to
End of
agree.
story.
Vampire.
End of story. None. Zero.
Anyone with
This one's
vampire
better.
and
Lost
this one.
Boys and
or
this
on
one's
top-
better.
then Lost
Lost
Boys.
Lost Boys is amazing.
Dracula.
End of story.
You know, Bella would beg to differ with me.
I say Buffy the
Monster
Vampire
Squad.
Slayer.
Monster Squad's in my.
Like the movie
on my
Buffy,
list.
I didn't really like that one.
The movie
The
Buffy.
I
original.
liked what I saw of it.
Oh.
The original. Shadow of a Vampire.
That was a great one. That was a great one.
I vaguely remember that one.
Yeah, but Lost Boys doesn't have Paul Rubens playing a vampire.
But again, but Lost Boys is fun. Like
Nobody
I think
has
that
Alex
one,
Winter dying as one.
that one is very.
Bill and Ted.
Lost Boys. That one. I mean, that one is fun to watch as a vampire movie. It's
Near Dark is pretty good.
pretty awesome.
Near Dark's amazing.
Yeah.
I haven't seen
We're in my wheelhouse. Oh,
Don't
yeah.
know if
Bill
I've seen it.
Paxton.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. No, I would just say that for me, out of what I've seen, if I had to say top 5 vampire films, then I would give Nosferatu, Bela Lugosi, the Universal Dracula, Interview with the Vampire, Bram Stoker's Dracula, and then I would also have to give Lost Boys. I'd have to throw it in there too.
See?
I put Interview with the Vampire up there.
Yeah.
For me, Interview with
I
the
like
Vampire
Interview.
came out in like 94?
I like Interview. I like the book better, but I like
And this was in 92?
Anybody ever see The Hunger?
Oh,
Yes,
that was great. That
David
was
Bowie.
good. That was good.
That one was
And then
great.
Let the
Very
Right One
naked
In.
Susan Sarandon.
Oh yes.
Lots of naked Susan Sarandon.
There's a lot.
That was
Lots
the
of
one
lesbian
song I
naked
just
Susan
That
Sarandon.
was-
what at the very
Yeah.
end. I was like so epic until now.
But anything involving
usually
her.
I don't watch it until it gets to this song.
Yeah.
And then I did this time around. I was like, oh gosh.
But I mean, that's, that 82 list didn't even include just generic vampire. That was just kind of Dracula stuff.
Yeah.
That's not counting a lot of the.
Well, most vampire films are Dracula films. You got to put Blackula up there somewhere.
Blackula.
I honestly haven't seen that.
I saw it in the 70s.
You guys are missing out.
I
You
mean-
saw it?
70s,
And when it
yeah.
came, wow, that's pretty
It's
cool.
it's mentioned in
We
the
watched-
Vampire
we
Encyclopedia.
watched Ploitation movies, whether it was black or sex or, I mean, as a kid, those kind of movies were like, I'm not watching this.
Oh.
In this adaptation, I don't know how many adaptations of Dracula, especially film, that Renfield actually dies in the insane asylum, and in this one he does.
Yeah.
That's something else I just thought of. Like he's in the castle, I know, and then Dracula doesn't love it. He's in dead loving it. He's in the castle.
They
Bram
did a
Stoker.
Renfield comic too. Caliber, I think, press did like the Dracula story told from Renfield's
Oh, that'd be cool.
perspective.
So, as we've said, Universal is trying so hard, and it looks to be in vain at this point, to reboot a Universal Monsters franchise.
Here's a thought: don't let Tom Cruise play anybody.
He's already in the universe. It's too
And
late for that.
Quit freaking making them action films. We did not need Mummy
And bring
Impossible.
Coppola back.
We did not need Mummy Impossible.
So they've already
still
cast.
alive?
They've already cast the Invisible Man
Coppola?
as.
Yeah, Coppola's still alive.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He's not making very good movies anymore, but he's alive. His daughter makes good movies.
Yes.
Sophia.
They've already cast the Invisible Man. I think that's Johnny Depp. Javier Bardem is going to play
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein's monster. I want to say they cast they casted the Wolfman, didn't they? I don't know.
I know they cast Russell Crowe.
Okay, Russell Crowe is Dr. Jekyll.
Dr. Jekyll. And then,
You've already got the Mummy. Who could play Dracula in the new version? Because I'm assuming it's set in modern day. Who do we think they're going to... Who are some good casting choices?
I think it needs to be somebody androgynous and beautiful.
Well, David Bowie's not alive anymore.
No.
Daniel Day-Lewis could be a great one.
Is he too
Still,
old?
He would never do it.
I don't think he would either.
I don't
But
think
is
he would
too
either.
old?
I agree with Dan. He probably would never do it.
It'll be somebody young.
Yeah.
He's old. He's older. He's like 60s.
I'm having trouble with a lot of the younger actors.
No.
I don't think Tom
That's a
Hiddleston
disgrace.
would do it.
Hiddleston might be a good choice.
He could be.
That's a good idea, Jake.
He can turn the creepy on.
Yeah.
And I personally am a fan of Charlie Hunnam's work. I think that Hunnam could do more if he was allowed the capacity.
I could see Hunnam playing Van Helsing more than I could Dracula.
Yeah, I could see that.
But then he would stay typecast. I don't think he's going to want to stay typecast if he can start something else. Because right now they've had him as a heroine too much, in those kind of roles. Even I like King Arthur personally.
Jesse Eisenberg is Harker.
Well, do you think
that's-
Jude Law's
that's actually not a
played
bad-
Dracula?
Yeah.
You know who would have been a perfect Dracula, in my opinion? Just Adrian Brody. He has the look, and I'm talking more of even a historical aspect.
God, you
of
can't
historical
hide
picture.
that nose, though. Good God.
I'm trying to think.
I think Tom Hiddleston is
Tom Hiddleston would be
probably
good.
the best choice. I don't know that he would do it, but he's already in another universe now with obviously Marvel, but he's also in the King Kong / Godzilla universe now.
I think he's about done with Marvel. I
Well,
think
we know he's at least in one movie.
I think Infinity War is going to be kind of the end
Do
of
we
a lot of
think
the
that-
Marvel characters we know.
Universal would lean towards someone like Jared Leto.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a big fan. Of
He's
not a bad.
he's hot right
choice.
now.
If he lets his hair grow
That's what I
out,
was thinking.
long,
He's
he's got
not
that
right
dark kind of goth look.
Yeah.
Kit Harington at all? A lot of chicks
I
digging.
really hope not.
But I don't know. It was just
would
a
be
thought.
I mean, I don't know. Personally, I'm not that impressed with his acting past Jon Snow yet, but
I haven't seen him
knows?
past Jon Snow. to be
Besides
honest with you.
Jon Snow.
he was in what was that? Pompeii.
I didn't get to watch the whole thing. But,
But
what I've seen was pretty good.
I'm sure they won't go with someone old. They won't go with the Gary Oldman type. They'll go with some very handsome popular actor. That's the trend that they're
going
going
to gender
with.
bend it.
They might. They gender bended
Well, how did that work for
the Mummy.
I haven't seen it.
The Mummy itself did
The
not do
Mummy's
well.
not terrible.
Okay, I
It's
haven't
not
seen it.
terrible. It's just Mummy.
It was a
It's-
box
every
office
time-
flop.
Every,
though.
oh yeah. Every
Yeah,
time Tom Cruise
financially.
steps on stage, you go da 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 da
Yeah.
da 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 da.
But the
There is a section. Have you seen it? There is a section when they're transporting the sarcophagus and the plane crashes. That is legit horror scary. It was a when she comes, she's kind of not whole yet, and it's very broken walk. She's crawling.
Oh, wow.
And crawling across the ground. It was. I looked at Chad and I said, "That's what this movie.
That's what
needs.
the whole film should have been.
That's what that horror.
Yeah.
That's what horror should be." But then she kills like 4 policemen like that and sucks their energy, and all of a sudden she's standing upright, and that was.
So
That was the creepy section.
My only question is, and I will see the Mummy at some point.
You need to watch it.
Yeah,
I mean, it is
yeah.
what it is. It's not terrible, but it's not.
So
Okay.
there is hope for this Universal new monster franchise.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to think so. Even after it opened, they announced that they were going to do a Phantom and these images for Del Toro's new.
Oh yeah,
Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, Theory
It's
of
great.
Water.
yeah,
It looks
Yeah.
beautiful.
Oh my God!
yeah.
And you're going,
trailer
is
looks pretty
that the
cool.
creature? I mean, that's the creature.
It's a love
Is it-
story.
Is it? Yeah. Well, I mean, the creature from
Yeah.
Black Lagoon is a love story. Have they snuck this in on us, and is this going to save everything?
I don't think that's going to be one of the.
Well, I know Doug Jones definitely confirmed that it wasn't Abe Sapien.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
because
it
people
looks
rumored
like-
it.
it looks exactly like the
Independent Asia
creature.
film.
But it does.
Looks exactly like the creature. I don't know how. I don't know
I
how they
don't-
can't.
It's not in. It's
Universal
not in
can't sign
the.
off
It's
on
not
it.
in the franchise.
Do we think that then maybe
A shared universe thing.
Depp can save it with, or Harvey Bardem? I think that's excellent casting. when I
Depp
think
has
about
not been
Bardem.
able to save
Barney,
anything.
I like the.
Not since Black
Lately.
Mass.
I like the Bardem.
I do
Yes,
too. I like
I do
Bardem's
too.
casting. Harvey Bardem's legitimately frightening in what's the one?
No Country for Old
No
Men.
Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
He was Anthony Hopkins.
He was.
Silence of the Lambs,
He was
in my
good
opinion.
in Skyfall. He was very frightening in that as the bad guy.
Isn't he in something that's out recent?
Well, we saw
Pirates of
Boy
the
is-
Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
He's the bad guy in the new Pirates. So I mean, I don't know. I hope there's. I want to see good Draculas.
If they had taken that there was about 20 minutes of the Mummy and made that the whole movie, it'd been tremendous.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it will turn the corner for horror.
Yeah.
I think I hope
The
it
box
revitalizes it. I hope it. I haven't seen it yet, but Dan loves it.
I've seen it twice.
I want to see it. I was supposed to see it this weekend. My little
But
sister's coming up.
I'm hoping that they're seeing that this is. I hope it doesn't turn into clowns are scary. I hope they're starting to see now that you need to do horror. Mm-hmm. You need to do. Nobody wants action horror. We've already done it with Dracula Untold. We've done it with The Mummy. We've done it with Van Helsing, and we've done it with all the stuff, and it's failed miserably. If you're gonna do this right, somebody at Universal's got to go. Y'all have got to go back to what made these movies great.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be slow, methodical, because I don't know that this
new
generation can handle that. They're so inundated with YouTube and fast. You can do fast and still do scary.
Well, I personally did. You guys
get off my lawn, you kids?
What do you think of Wolfman? The remake.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, Benicio del Toro, and that's another one. I mean, if you were to go, let's say, if you went out of bounds and kind of went away with Vlad Dracula just being Vlad, even with a new one. If you went away from that concept and you went towards him being Hispanic or African American or something like that, would that work better?
Here, I don't know.
I don't know that it work better, but they could make it work. It's all about how the filmmaking and how good they can make it and how well the actor can portray the role.
Here's my issue, and this thought just popped into my head. Are the Universal monsters even scary anymore?
Certain ones.
Can you make them scary?
I think you can.
It's all about how the film's made. Like, this is scary to me. This scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I don't know, but some people didn't get scared at it. I was terrified by it. I've seen it twice. I enjoyed it thoroughly both times. But talked to our buddy Jeff, didn't scare him at all.
Yeah,
didn't care. I don't have a clue what makes it different for him than in me. I have no idea. That's anomaly in horror filmmaking that just blows my mind. So I don't know.
Tanya posted the day that she went. She was like, I really like it, but I hate that I worked at a show because I can't be scared anymore.
Yeah, it definitely ruins it when you do makeup effects, like, because there's certain things you look out for, and subconsciously it just reaches you and you're like, oh, now I know how the process is. It's just, it doesn't make it as fun.
I just cut it off.
It's hard. It's hard to.
It's very hard. It's very hard.
I think it helps to go into a film with an open mind and not cynical.
Yeah.
I think some people probably went into it like, I like the old one with Tim Curry, or
which is not a good miniseries.
It's not a good anything. I mean, he's good, but the film itself. But anyways, let's wrap up our discussion, an hour and a half discussion on Dracula. Sam, where can our listeners find more of you and your wit?
You can find me laying in a coffin somewhere, buried alive, more than likely, on all the social media at Sammie Castle and Sammie the Comic Book Man Facebook page.
Sweet. Whitney, Jacob?
Well, you can find me on Instagram, Witchcraft and Gore, or my personal one, Bewitched Wit. You could even find me on Facebook as Whitney Collazo. You could check out my art if you're interested in it. You could even contact me and we can hook you up with a commission.
Sweet.
And you can find me, Jacob Allen, at my Facebook page, Jacob Allen.
Cool. We're on Instagram at Wreak Havoc Productions. I'm on Twitter at Hank vs. the Undead. You can always email me at wreakhavocproductions@gmail.com. Go to wreakhavocproductions.com for everything that we're up to. And be sure, if you're listening to this because you like creepy stuff, you like horror, listen to our new podcast, Carolina Haints, on iTunes, Google Play, and iHeartRadio. You can go to carolinahaints.com to find each episode. We're going to be posting on opposite Fridays of this podcast from now until probably February. So check it out and, keep up with all the stuff that we're up to.
Yeah, it's just a tad.
Yeah. All right, we'll be back in either another week or 2 weeks with another horror film or not. We'll see. Not sure. But until then,
Good night, children of the night.